government, and then there is no problem. That's also told. Her daughter was mentioning that there is no problem for anything. How to
Correct.
act or enact, that we are totally involved or something.
Good. Yes, that is what we were supposed to be discussing.
Yeah. So
Yes.
not sure if Lata will be joining today.
Yeah, not sure either. Maybe you can just check with her for a second,
Mm,
or shall we continue the way it is?
Um, yeah, I'll check if she is available in Skype. She is offline.
Okay, then you leave it. Then we will continue the way because
May-
today.
Maybe you can check. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I can check. I have no problem. Let me
Yeah,
check.
sure. So robotics people were working or what?
No, no, no. Yesterday they wanted to talk with me, so I thought they got the time only today. And since I'm recording it on YouTube, so let's not talk about that.
Oh, you started already?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I started already. Okay, so I just messaged her. She did not reply, so let's continue. If she replies, I'll ask her to join. It's okay.
No problem.
Okay, so now we have to understand one thing. So, what is that we are trying to do in life,
Yeah.
actually? So yesterday I was talking to one of the person from US. So
Mm-hmm.
he in the night. So he had asked me about Vedanta. He wants to know more and more detail and how to meditate and all that. Okay. So I was telling him there are four things we are generally interested in doing, which all includes only sensuality, majorly, or whatever we are trying to do. So first thing, the first means for what we are trying to lead ourselves from the childhood to the teenage and then to to the adulthood and then what we call as marriage. If you were to see, it's all about the we can put it like sex and marriage. I think that's the best way to put it because that gives a five sense complete satisfaction or expectation being met or whatever we can call. So if you really see all round the way we are developed, the way we are developed, the way our parents were developed, and like that, if you go before for time immemorial, this is what we are doing. That is to have a spouse and to have a family. This is the major deal. So we have something called as expectation and all related to that what we are supposed to be doing. Then the second one is sensual, wherein we can have relating to the abilities we can possess and new technology or new skill sets and hobbies and uh, freaking or uh, on health and fitness or dancing, singing, and various kind of sports and entertainment and all that is something to do with sensual or sensuality. The third one is on food. So we snack or we prepare different kind of foods and all that, different flavors and different kinds of cuisines and trying out different kind of countries food or regions food, and all that is part of the third one. And the fourth one, we are in search of challenges, in search of surprises and all of that. This is the fourth. So each one is leading on to another, and it again comes back to the same starting point. So the energy maximum energy is on the family and the spouse, and the next is on the sensual realm, and then the next is on the snacking, and the next is on the challenges. If we were to really see why we are doing that, then there is this reward and punishment system. We always are in search of rewards. So it can be work, can be school, can be anything. So ultimately, the best reward we get is marriage. Getting the girl whom you like, or getting the boy whom she likes, and starting the family, being together, and all that. And again, having home and furniture and all that, whatever comes along with that. So it's basically setting up a life all over again. So that is highly rewarding. So many, not many, almost all of us, without exceptions, have that reward. When it doesn't work out, it becomes punishment. So basically, we have rewarding and punishment system. Now, the second one, sensuality, also there is a rewarding and punishment system wherein the person dances or sings or does something. One second, Lata has message, so let me find out whether she'd be interested.
Okay.
So I'll continue. If he replies, let's see. So this reward and punishment has something very nice to look at. It has something called as, what I can say, it is recognition. All of us would like to get recognized in something or the other. So even if you take sensuality, then the person would like to be a good singer, good dancer, apart from whatever his primary skills are. Okay, so then we have hobbies, we have different skills, music and all of that. So we want to try out different things because there is something worth recognizing. And then if you take the third one, snacking, also the same thing, right? So there is reward and there is punishment. So if you don't get food properly, it is punishment. If you are getting food, it is rewarding. And then the person starts developing new skills on food and start preparing. And he feels very happy. He or she feels happy when they make new recipes and new tries and all that. And the fourth one is even more rewarding or recognizing if you take on challenges. So we all are interested in some challenging roles. We are basically not happy with doing the same thing. Now, if you really see why, is because of recognition. We want to get recognized. So that is the crux of this whole thing, why we are doing something. And if you really see why we want to get recognized, because we are bored of something. So all of this created is for that boredom. Right now we can see with this COVID-19 being there, all working from home and eating the same food and not able to wear different clothes, not able to go out, it's so boring. There is no problem with eating, there's no problem with sleeping, there's no problem with whatever we were doing even earlier. But there was entertainment. People could go out and do whatever they wanted to do, and they could call that as a weekend. Now every day is a weekend, right? And every day is a holiday. So that boredom has come back. So all that the human being was trying to do till now is to come out of that boredom. But what he eventually found, that every activity has some boredom, because all senses has some boredom associated with it. And when we say Brahman or consciousness, is completely boredom because it doesn't do any activity at all. In that, every activity is happening. So when we really understand the Brahman, Satya, Jagat, Mithya, what it really means is in Brahman, everything is happening. But the Brahman as such, state as such, is boredom. Because there is no activity within Brahman. It happens outside. So it is very difficult to really see this bliss within me because first and foremost I need to understand what is boring, what is boredom. If I am able to address that boredom, which is nothing but running behind the five senses, then it is very easy to handle. So what we have done eventually is to have something called as busy, 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 so that we don't get into boredom. The original state is boredom, but then we have created so many things to distract the mind from that boredom. So at no point in time the mind is able to realize there is anything called as boredom, because we have so many things to do. We have food to prepare, we have household chores to take care, then we have work to be done, then we have washing, then we have this, then we have to go out, then there is car, then there is two wheeler, then there is something, then there are some meetings, then there are some people to be met and not to be met, and there are some entertainment, there are some news which is happening, then there are views which are happening. So there are so many things which are happening in a given day. So we have created roles also accordingly. So we have called somebody as a husband, somebody as a wife, and somebody as a parent, somebody as a child, and somebody this, somebody that, so that we don't really get to see what the reality is. So first and foremost, we need to understand this boredom. There is boredom, and that's all we're trying to fight out with. And you cannot remove boredom because that is a reality. It's boring. The day comes and day goes. It doesn't do anything other than that. Life comes, life goes. It doesn't do anything other than that. And food comes, food goes. That doesn't do anything like that. So we don't want that. We want something different. But the original way is that only. Even though I call somebody as my father and somebody as my mother, it really, it's their life, meaning they keep on aging, they keep on doing whatever they were doing, their mentality is different, their karma is different, everything is different. So I will use all my energy to change them because I feel that is what I should be doing, which is because of the boredom, or because boredom is there. I want to recognize something, do something about that boredom, and that has a reward and punishment. And then I have these four things to deal with. So now this becomes like a structure, it's a process. So basically I want to be happy, but I'm not happy because that the recognition is not happening for the work what I'm doing, so I feel worthless. So again it becomes boredom, because the moment I feel worthless, then there is, I have to do something else, so that keep on working. So the first and foremost we need to understand is what is the real state. The real state of anything is it is not connected, like what we discussed yesterday. It's unconnected. The original self is unconnected what the mind thinks. Mind can think whatever it wants, but it just uses the consciousness energy to bring something in outside, thinking that it can possess it. But it can never possess anything because there is nothing to be possessed. So what I should do then, if I am pure consciousness? First and foremost, I need to recognize that I am pure consciousness. And I'm bound by the five senses and the five sense objects and this mind. So from the mind itself, I can then liberate myself. I cannot liberate other than the mind, because mind is the instrument which through which I can see myself. There's no way I can see myself without the mind. So then what happens? After understanding the Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Dama, Uparati, and then the Titiksha, Samadhana, and Mumukshatva, having understood that, what I am supposed to be doing is to engage myself fully on that role. Just like I go to office, I'm supposed to engage myself in that role. And there is a PDA, there is some evaluation to be done, and they will evaluate and give me some number, and the salary will get increased. Or I get promoted. Same thing is happening. There is a person who is on their karma. They have their own whirlpool of things running. So each one of us are a whirlpool. And we don't know what we have come up with. And how did we enter into the womb? And what are they supposed to be doing in this world? Not able to see all of that. Let's agree to that, that they are also running like me. So that there is no more issue being created within my mind. I am also running around, they are also running around. They are also thieves and I am also thief. Because I've been sentenced for doing something and they are also been sentenced for doing something. And we don't know what the sentences are for each one of the person. Because the person is removed of his cloth or her cloth and the person goes away. And nobody can really say where he went. So just like a dead body being there, a body not having life, we call that as a dead body. It doesn't matter whose body it is, but it's just a body. The relationship has been set into to that body. So somebody recognizes it as a father, somebody recognizes it as a son, somebody recognizes it as a friend, somebody recognizes it as a neighbor, somebody recognizes it as a grandfather, somebody recognizes as a husband, like that. But that recognition has got nothing to do with that body, nor it has any recognition of whoever was asked to go from that prison. So the other prisoners lift that body and then they destroy the body because they cannot keep it there. It's like an old cloth, so they just have to throw it out. So this is the reality. Considering this reality, considering that I have to recognize not on the reward and punishment, I have to recognize this reality. That is, the consciousness is the actual reward. And if the consciousness were to do something wrong or something right, using the mind, it undergoes torture. So there is reward and punishment again. And it is given another life. Another life in the sense, another set of body for it to engage in another prison. So, first and foremost, I need to work in my mind that I am prisoner like others. Then the compassion will increase because I am also bound, they are also bound. Now, the only best thing I can do is to engage so much in the world, in their world, and make them feel happy. Like your children were to come and jump around with you, you're not getting upset because they're also prisoners. You're not considering them as your children. And when your wife interacts with you, then you are not going to take her as your wife, but you are compassionate with that person because that person is as much suffering as you. And this can be for myself as well. When my wife comes and talks to me, I will still tell my wife, but I'm sure that she's not my wife, but I have to engage with her because she's suffering exactly same or more than what I'm suffering. She might have more body aches than what I'm having. She might have more mental issues than what I'm having. So I should become very compassionate with that person, not finding faults at them because then they are already prisoner. If a person is already a prisoner, he's been sentenced into prison, who am I to give them furthermore punishments? Why should I make them feel even more miserable than what they really are? So if they want me to engage in this way, I will certainly engage in that way, just like Krishna engaged with Arjuna, or with Pandavas, or with Kauravas, or with whoever. So we can take some examples the from uh, the epics what we have. Even if you take Ramayana, if you take Rama, he had known what the life is at the age of 13, and then he was told by Vasishtha that having understood all of this truth, you are supposed to engage back in this world as husband and as father, as this and that, and you please do it. So he did to the 100%, did not complain even a bit that why am I getting it like that, because it's a role. So basically, we have to set ourselves that role and play that role to 100%, because that person is also a prisoner. There is no son or daughter or a wife or a father and a mother and this and that. We all are prisoners in the same prison. The only difference is that this prison cell is shared by so many people and we call them as a family. Similarly, there is a next prison cell where we call them as a neighbor's family. And there is another prison cell where we call them as a relative's family. They might not be staying next to us, maybe far away from us. Maybe in another prison called as America, maybe another prison called as Canada, maybe another prison called as UK, maybe another prison called as, let us say, Nepal or China or Pakistan or this or that, but all are prisons only. There's not even one person who's out of the prison. So they have different faiths and different belief system and different ideas, different ideology, different uh, religious feeling, different tradition, different methodology, different in every given way. That is all created by the prisoners. But they have created that for what reason? To either reward or to punish. If somebody is following whatever that other team is following, they reward it. But that consciousness does not have a reward system nor has a punishment system. It just exists. So we need to see this and cut away from the thinking that I myself is doing it. So I cannot take this body as me. I cannot take this body as I am this body, and I cannot take this body as myself. Same thing with my relationship. I cannot take me that I am husband, and then I can say that, oh, I am husband of so and so, and then I am myself is the husband. So this is me, husband as myself. So we keep on playing on this like this musical chair again and again, which is not the right thing to do. So we need to see how to play the role in a most compassionate manner, because that's the only reality, that everybody is prisoner. So we've been given a role, better do the role to 100%, because when the Chitragupta, we use also a word called Chitragupta. Chitra means picture and Gupta means secret. Secretively, this mind has smriti through the chitta, and chittas have smriti. So whatever action is being done is being recorded. So the consciousness is recording itself. So whatever mistakes done, which we call as a past, whatever is being done right now, which we call as a present, and whatever we are going to do later, which is called as future, has no bearing to this consciousness. But since it is attached to the mind, and mind has past, present, future, it takes the impressions of the past and projects itself in the future to get rid of the problem it is facing. So it can get into punya and papa. So this Chitragupta keeps on really recording like a CCTV camera. So if there's a flaw in the role, what has been done, this consciousness which is bound to the mind gets rebirth accordingly. So the best thing to do for those people who are seekers of elimination or getting rid of the rebirth process and liberate themselves from the samsara is to do the task assigned in the prison to perfection, which is just following the role. Don't have to do anything. Just do the role. Whatever has been done. So if you're playing with your children, play with the children, knowing very well that you are not that. So in that case, the prisoners will never come to know that you have changed. The problem comes when the prisoners comes to know that you have changed and they don't want you to change because they feel uneasy. See, I myself being a prisoner, if I change, what will happen to the other two prisoners who are there at my home? Or rather, I have got three prisoners here. One being called as a son, another being called as a mother-in-law, and another being called as a wife. So if I were to change my attitude towards them, they will have a real shock of their time because they feel, what has happened to him? Why doesn't he do what he was doing earlier? Maybe he doesn't have respect for me, or maybe he doesn't love me anymore, or he doesn't like me anymore, or he is acting too smart, or something like that. So it is better to do what one is doing morally rather than immorally. So I don't have to do anything immoral with my wife or my mother-in-law or my son, but do moral activities, but without attachment to any consequences thereof, because we're all in the same prison. So how much we can understand the prison culture, that much the person will get rid of doing any negative karma, and ultimately will be able to get rid of even the positive karma, because the positive and negative will give, both will give rebirth. So he will only do the role what is assigned to him, which is what the karma yoga third chapter, karma sannyasa fourth chapter is all about. 3 4 5 three chapters of Bhagavad Gita will talk about how one can relinquish himself from all of this. So that's the practical way of doing it. Any questions?
No, Vilas. I mean, I think that it is clear. Maybe it will take a little time to practice that kind of.
Correct. It will take time. See, this is what we have to do reflection upon. See, that's the Vaira, the Viveka is that. Anitya and Nitya is that actually. The Anitya here, the what we call as impermanent, is roles are all impermanent. They are not permanent, right? There is no permanency in any role. One time you are called as a father, another time you are called as a son. See, when your father and mother speak to you, they don't talk to you as a child. They talk to you as their son. But when you talk to your children, how suddenly you are now given a role of a father. And when your father and mother talks to your children, they will take on the role of a grandfather and grandmother. But actually, they are not grandfather, grandmother to anyone. They are just being in the samsara. Their body is changing. But the being in the samsara, they are supposed to play that role. So as a grandfather, he will do something, he'll give chocolate or do something or love them and, hug them or do whatever he's going to do or the grandmother is going to do. And these children will talk to them as though they are grandfather and grandmother, because that is what they have been told. So what you say as a father might be conflicting with what your father says to the grandchildren. because the grandfather has more love towards the grandchildren rather than their own children. So there is always a gap between what you see your father would have been with you. He is so lenient with these grandchildren. So because there is a problem with the role, is the people misunderstand the role because they get tied up with that role and they think that is a real role they are playing. And what's the difference between you and the normal person? The normal person believes that the role is real, whereas the spiritual person knows that this role is unreal.
Okay.
So there is no reality in the role, but you have to pretend as though you are playing that role. Actually, who dies? Actually, if you see, the role dies because the body was given that role. Correct.
Yeah.
And we don't know where this person went. See, if we were able to see where this person went, at least we can say, okay, he went there. We don't even see where he went. So one person calls the same person as a husband, another person calls that the same body as a father, another person will call the same body as a grandfather, and like that. Another person will come from a neighborhood and he'll say, oh, he's my neighbor, and another person will say, come and say, oh, he's my brother, and another person will come from some other place and he says, oh, he's my uncle, like that. So we are giving different designations, not able to realize that these designations are for the body. They are not for the person who is sitting inside, not even for the mind. It is only for the body. Because the body is graying, the body is getting old, so we call that person as grandfather. If the body looks very young, we call it as a child. If the body is in middle age, we call that person as an uncle. And really, does that uncle exist? Does that really grandfather exist? Does the really father exist? No. This is anitya. So, understanding nitya and anitya, we can do it all the 24 hours. Because it's a role. There is no reality in the role. It's just a role. And the reality is that it arises and passes away. It changes. And next person coming, he will not say, oh, you are a father. He'll start like you are his friend. Like in my case and your case, we are friends. But in your family case, you are no friend. For them, you are their child. And for your wife, you are her husband. And for your children, they treat you as your father. Now, aren't you confused, actually? On one side, you're a friend, and another side this, another side that, another side that. Now, is there a reality there? It should be stable, right?
Yeah.
Is it stable?
No.
So what is not stable is not real. Your breathing, that is stable? No, that is also changing, right?
Yeah, that is also changing.
That's also changing. Your thoughts are also changing.
Changing.
Correct. So now how do you call yourself as yourself then? This is the truth.
Okay.
This is how we have to see that we are prisoner. See, in the prison, I call myself in the prison. Okay, great, very good. Is the body called as the same name? No. That means I am prisoner by the body now. Correct?
Yeah.
Now, I am prisoner by my mind also because ideas keep changing, thoughts keep changing, relations keep changing, everything keeps changing. So I can't even say, oh, this is me. My emotions also keep changing. It should have some stability. There is absolutely no stability between the body and the mind. Even if we go to Antakarana, that also doesn't have any stability. So the intellect also doesn't have any stability. And whatever I am calling it as Atma, that also is arising and passing away. Because it has mistook itself to be itself. So the only stable thing which ever can be there is called as Atman or Brahman. That's the only which is stable. That doesn't change. Because it never existed in this way. So if what doesn't exist in this way will never perish. what exists in this way will definitely perish, and it's been perishing. Nothing I can do. So there is no solution to this perishing problem. It keeps on perishing. So there's no point in worrying. So the only thing I need to do is to ask for liberation from this kind of minute by minute changes. So we will call that as God. We'll make Brahman as a God. And I will pray to the God saying that, God, now I have understood my mistake. I don't want to do any further mistake. Please take me out from this prison. What does the God say? Play your role perfectly. I will take you out. Okay. And when will I come to know that you have taken me out? Right now. You play your role. Don't get attached to the role. You're already out. So this is what we are trying to do as spirituality.
Okay. Yeah.
So we are already at 35 minutes. So should we continue or shall we end?
We will end our.
So tomorrow we will tomorrow we are meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, tomorrow then we will continue on the shlokas.
All right.
Okay then.
Thank you.
Thank you then. Bye.
Bye.